Hi everyone, I'm Kelsey.
And I'm Christy.
And today we're going to show you how to create this beautiful basket weave design using your wood burner.
Okay, so today I will be using the deluxe dual port wood burner. To get started, I am going to be using a blade style pen. And this is a knife shape. I'm going to bring a gourd piece so you can see it better. So it's what a blade style pen does, it cuts through the surface of the gourd, and it's the most essential pen you're going to use to get that pattern transferred onto your gourd and get that nice outline. Okay, so before I get started, I will be using the image from the Stick and Burn pack of classic leather tooling and basket weave. And this is the larger image, as you can see on this basket right here. That's the larger image, but this pack also comes with a smaller image that I used on this piece.
So it has a larger basket weave pattern and a smaller basket weave pattern.
So I first want to start off by cutting out my design.
And for those of you who don't know what Stick and Burn is, it's actually a design transfer sheet. We have some that are pre-printed, so with images already on them. And then we also have blank ones for LaserJet and inkjet printers, so you can print your own patterns on them. And they just make it really easy to transfer your designs onto your gourd. So Christy just cut it out. She's going to peel the back off and just stick it on her gourd piece. And you can reposition it as well, which is nice. And then once you have your position, the Stick and Burn, how you want it situated, you just press it down firmly and then get ready to wood burn it.
Okay, once that's done, I'm going to go ahead and use my pen. Again, this is the knife. And I'm just going to turn on my burner. And I'm going to start by wood burning it.
And so she's just using the blade style pen to make the outlines. And she's just using she's wood burning right through the Stick and Burn, the lines that are on the Stick and Burn. And so you want to use, like she said, the blade style pens are the most essential pens, wood burning pens to have when you're wood burning on gourds, because you need it to create your outline, like when you're going to do the basket weave with shading, or like when you're going to use color. And the reason that you want to do that is because the wood burned line acts as like a channel or a groove, and it contains your color in the design. It outlines it, and then it also contains the color, or else like right here where you have this green and this orange, they might mix together and get muddled if you didn't have that wood burned line. So like we said, it's just one of the most essential pens, or the most essential style pen to use when you're wood burning on gourds.
Okay, and when you're wood burning this pattern, let me give you a little hint. Instead of going in and wood burning each individual little square, because that can get a little difficult, you can just go in and start by wood burning the lines, the little rectangles. You can see how I'm just connecting them, just following the pattern, and it automatically creates that little square. So that way you don't have to go in and do each individual square, because that can get a little complicated. Okay, so just to save some time, I'm not going to wood burn the whole design. Okay, so I just wood burned just this side of it, and I just want to show you once it's done, you just want to go ahead and peel it off. And you can see that the design is already wood burn on the gourd, and that's how you get your pattern in.
That's how you get your pattern onto the gourd.
Okay, you can see that that's wood burned. Now, I previously wood burned this other piece just to save some time. And let me show you what I'll be doing here. Okay, so this is the finished basket weave. And the first step we want to do, we want to start by shading in the little squares. And I'm going to show you how to do this in sections so you don't get lost with the pattern. So this way it's much easier. So the first step is shading in those little squares. Okay, so shade them in. I'm using my shader. This is a writing pen. And when you're shading, you always want to start with your heat low and then work your way up.
So the shading pens, those stay on the surface of the gourd. They don't cut through like the blade style pens do. They just darken the surface of the gourd.
Okay, so this is as easy as using a regular writing pen. You just go in and you scribble. Now, the reason I say to start low and then work your way up is because you don't want to create a burn mark on your gourd. Now, I notice that right now maybe my heat is a little low, so I'm just going to go up a little bit on my burner.
And you don't want to leave an indentation, right? Because they can leave an indentation if it's too hot.
If it's too hot. So the best thing to do is just to go back and just keep shading that little square in. Because, again, you can always make it dark by going up on your dial, but it's just going to give you a very ugly indentation. Okay. There we go. So you can start to see how now the basket weave design is a little bit more noticeable once those little squares are all shaded in. So that's the first step. Like I said, just keep scribbling until it gets dark. Now I did finish. Turn that off. I do have another sample piece where I shaded in all those little squares to save some time. So the next step, what I'm going to do now, I'm going to go ahead and let me show you with this one. I'm going to go ahead and start wood burning all my horizontal lines. So I'm going to start by wood burning line by line, all the horizontal lines, and I want to make sure I shade in darker on the edges so it creates that realistic 3D effect. So let me show you.
And yeah, I can really see the basket weave now that you've colored those smaller squares.
Yeah, so you can get lost with the pattern, so it's definitely easier if you start by wood burning those darker, and then again, like I said, work in sections so you don't get lost. Okay, so again, I'm starting with my temperature low. And then what I'm going to do here, to make it darker on the edge, I'm just going to go in. So when I'm wood burning right now, I'm actually doing like a scribble motion. To make that darker edge, I'm just scribbling closer to the edge, just going right over it, and that's what's making it darker. So then I just go right here on this edge.
So the temperature is staying the same. You just keep going back over the same area.
Mm-hmm. And then on this side, it's the same thing. So I'm just scribbling. And then just making it darker by the edge. And then you do want to leave the center space blank, so you get that nice effect, basket weave effect.
Yeah,
so
like they're actually weaving and it's three-dimensional.
Okay, so then I'm just moving on to the next one. And shading is a lot of fun. It's very relaxing. So if you have a wood burner, I say it's really nice when you actually do some shading. You just sit by your TV and do some shading. It's really relaxing, and you just take your time. So again,
that's the most important part, right?
Yep.
Be patient and take your time.
Yes. And that's the effect we want to get. We want to make it seem like it's flawless. We don't want any indentations. So that's why I always say it's best to wood burn, especially shade at a lower temperature. And then just keep shading over the area that you want darker, so you get that really nice flawless look. Otherwise, you get a lot of indentations, and you don't want that. Okay, so those are the first steps. So let me show you. I did another gourd over here. I previously wood burn it. Now the next step is to wood burn the vertical lines. So now you can really start to see that basket weave effect. So now we want to wood burn the vertical lines, and same process. We're just doing the edges and darker closer to the edge.
And so most of you have probably noticed she's not switching out her pens constantly and adjusting the temperature. And that's because she's using the deluxe dual port wood burner. And this wood burner is so great and unique because it has 2 ports that you can plug your pens into and 2 dials, which means you can set them at their own temperature. Now, I'm going to burst your bubble a little bit. You can't have them both on at the same time, and that's just due to safety precautions. You will not find a wood burning unit out there that you can have both plugged in at the same time, unfortunately. But this is great because if you're doing something like this with this basket weave, where you have to use your blade style pen and it's set at one temperature so it can cut through the skin of the gourd, and then you have your shading pen where you need it set at a lower temperature, you can just switch back and forth between the two. Your temperatures are already set. You're not having to unplug and plug back in. You're not having to try to play with the temperature and practice on a gourd and make sure it's the same temperature that you want it at. So that's what's so great about the deluxe dual port wood burner. And it does come with the knife that Christy was using. And it also comes, if you order it within a certain time, with this writing pen so you can shade.
And I am going to say that most of the time you're using just 2 main pens. Your blade style pen, and everyone has their personal favorite, and your shaders. So this unit, it's perfect because you just have your 2 pens that you work with most of the time plugged right in.
And set at their ideal temperatures.
Mm-hmm. And again, you just want to go ahead and do this scribble motion darker towards the edge. And when I do it darker, I just keep scribbling in that little area, making that shade darker. And then you do want to leave that little blank space in the center.
And the reason that you're shading it in those areas is because you want it to look like they are really overlapping. So there would naturally be a shadow there and a highlight where you're not shading. And that's what doing it with the shading pen, with the writing pen, that's the effect that you're creating. So it's like 3-dimensional.
Okay, so like I said, wood burning, shading just takes some time, a lot of patience. So it's always better to just take your time. And once you're done, it should look something like this. So it's very easy.
Yes. Now that Christy's broken it down into steps, it's a little intimidating at first, but
it's actually really easy once you just figure out how to shade. Now, let me talk to you about these pieces that I have here. On this one, I did add the smaller basket weave design, and I did the leather tooling. I shaded the leather tooling.
and you can learn how to do your own leather tooling. Gloria Crane has a DVD out, and she's a wonderful instructor, and she'll take you step by step on how to do the leather tooling effect. Okay.
And on this one, I previously did a basket, and I felt it was missing something. I just had the sunflowers there, so I added that basket weave, and it definitely added more to this art piece. And this one over here, I want to share with you. This is actually the first gourd I ever shaded. So I did this a couple years back, maybe like 4 years ago. I did this piece, and so don't be intimidated. Well, I had done wood burning before. So like I said, your most essential pen is the blade style that's going to do the basic outlining, but I had never shaded before. So then I did use a writing pen, and I did the shading, and I just did it on my own. It does take some time. So I was just sitting there shading, and it's very nice and relaxing. So this is the first gourd I shaded.
So even if you're a beginner at shading, don't be discouraged, or if you're a beginner in general, you can do it. Christy did it. This is her first one, and it's beautiful.
And also, I do want to talk to you about this Nibs wood burner, the tips. I honestly do like this wood burning pen. Where is it? Here we go. The blade. This is the knife. And the reason I like it is because they're very durable and sturdy. There is other pens out in the market, and I'm going to say we also carry razor tip pens, which I also like. However, they are a little bit more fragile. So when you're burning, you just have to be careful with those pens. But these are very nice and sturdy, and you can also do a lot of deep wood burning if that's what you like and the style that you like. So I think they're really nice.
Yes. And it does have an unconditional 2-year warranty. So if your unit breaks, or if any of your tips break on your pens, you can send them back and we'll replace them for you. All right. Well, that's all we have for today. Thank you for joining us. And like this video, make sure you like us on Facebook. And I know if at any time throughout the video you're watching us on your mobile device, make sure you tap the like button or little heart button if you see something that you like. It just encourages us to keep doing more. And we hope you enjoyed what we shared with you today, and share it on your wall so you can save this technique for later, and you can practice your own basket weave on your own at home. Thank you.